Let me sincerely thank Landesa first for the invitation, and to the governments of Germany and the United States, and all the Stand for Her Land Steering Committee members for your ongoing commitments to advancing women's land rights and tenure security. And then a warm welcome to all those connecting from around the globe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for standing with us to stand for her land. Distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends, our discussion today of women's land rights and rights to housing and property has resonance and alignment with not only my life's work as a feminist focused on food systems, but also for you and women and our mandate of advancing gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls. For many women, land is roots, land is culture, and land is identity. Land is home. Land is a source of food security. Land is a source of nutrition. Land is a source of medicine. And land is a source of well-being. Realizing women's land rights is an integral part of the gender-responsive implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And it's especially important for Goal 2 on ending hunger and Goal 5 on gender equality. Women's secure access to land and resources supports their independence and their autonomy. It provides food for them, for their families, and communities, and allows women to be resilient in the face of increasing and accelerating climate and environmental crises and disasters. Yet, we know women persistently face barriers. They face legal barriers. They face financial barriers. They face social barriers. They face economic barriers, and they face cultural barriers. They face multiple and intersecting forms of discrimination, including for being Indigenous women, for being peasant women, for being widowed women, for being displaced women, for being women living with HIV and AIDS. For example, we know Indigenous women are often barred from exercising their land rights simply because they are Indigenous. We know widowed women are being denied their inheritance rights world over. We have a long way to go. Women are restricted in claiming and protecting land assets because of customary, religious, or traditional laws and practices in 62% of 180 countries. To address these inequalities, UN Women is advancing work on 4 fronts. The first is ensuring that the legal and policy frameworks that guarantee women's access, ownership, and rights to land are in place. But we also know that these legal and policy frameworks are not enough by themselves. I remember so vividly when Kenya passed the current constitution in 2010. My father, my mother, my 6 sisters, and my 2 brothers going to the land board because my father had decided he was going to be on the right side of the law and pass on his land to all of us. And I remember standing at the land board and with the chair of the land board asking my father, are you sure that you want to give land to all of them? Are you sure you want to give the girls land as well? Are you sure you want to give even to the married ones that live in their husbands' homes? I remember them turning to my 2 brothers to ask, are you okay with your father giving land to your sisters? I remember them asking my father, do you know how much money you would make from selling this land? Why do you want to waste it on girls? So legal and policy frameworks are necessary, but they're not sufficient guarantees to secure women's right to land. Much more is needed. We need to change the norms and perceptions around women's rights to land. we need to ensure the legal and policy frameworks are implemented. The second area of work that we do is amplifying the voice, the agency, the participation, and leadership of women, including grassroots women and indigenous women. We know women and girls are central to change. They are driving change in our communities, but we need to amplify their voices. We need their voices to be heard. UN Women is advancing this through convening 2 generation equality action coalitions, one on economic justice and rights, and the second on feminist action for climate justice, both of which have rolled out actions and commitments that will advance women's land rights, most notably the collective commitment on women's land rights. The third area of work is increasing women's access to finance. This is an area we know we have all been pushing for decades. It is an area where we need bold action. For this, it is about the power of collectives, the power of cooperatives, the power of women's movement, and ensuring that these women's movements, these collectives and cooperatives are well funded, that they have the resources to drive this agenda forward. So we are working with collectives, we are working with cooperatives, we are working with women's groups, but also with working with those that hold the finance, whether they're governments, whether it's the private sector, whether it is IFIs, to make sure that they are driving finance to where it is needed most. We work on the joint program on rural women's economic empowerment to ensure that women's groups are working together to enhance their economic and social capital while improving their food security and nutrition. The fourth area where we are working is in the area of statistics and sex disaggregated data. We need to use all our innovation to generate gender and environmental statistics and sex disaggregated data that will support policymaking, that will show us where we are making progress and where we are not making progress. And while we are encouraged by the increase in countries reporting on SDG land indicators, including the now 47 countries that are reporting on SDG 5.8.1, that's just 25% of countries. And we know less than 50% of countries are reporting on the other land indicators. We need to do more. And with that, I ask you, will you stand with us to promote women's land rights? We are calling you to action. Add your voice to the Stand for Her Land campaign, and let's collectively create a wave of movement for irreversible action for women's land rights and turn security around the world. Thank you.